It's not you, it's me. When I get loose, it's not me. It's not me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am so pleased to be here with you all on today. I am excited to have with me in the studio. He'll be coming into the stream in just a short, hot second. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jimmy Green. He'll be in just a short second. But before we do that, Matthew, my producer, what's going on, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. Other than this grog that I've picked up, and I think maybe I've passed it over to my mother and some other folks. That's why I told Jimmy, I said, hey, if you're coming into the studio today, be warned. So I'm wearing my mask on today, looking like a ninja, even though I know very little martial arts. I want to say, let's get into some great conversations on today. Shout out to the first person in the stream, Mr. Terry Reed. What's up, my man? You'll find yourself in the opening segment of What's on My Mind, because truly you have been on my mind today. For those of you who are out there that are Michigan fans, I'm going to allow you to get in on this, Jimmy.
I'm good.
Okay, those of you who are Michigan, actually bring Jimmy in right now. Oh, my goodness. Thank God Saginaw Spirit is doing something amazing, because you would have probably come in here with all blue and gold.
I will be tomorrow.
Well, those of you who are fans of the blue and the gold, you guys are getting the overdose. Maize
and blue.
Let me get that correct. Especially as a green and white fan, who most people would probably be hiding under a rock. But when you bleed green and white, you go through the tough times as well.
Absolutely.
So Michigan fans are getting an overdose of the maize and blue fever after defeating the number 4 Alabama. Come on, Crimson Tide. I didn't want them to win, because I did want to see Michigan get to this next level.
Okay.
You don't have to be a Wolverine fan or a Washington fan to like good football.
I agree.
And I think we are setting up, Jim. What are your thoughts? I think one of those championship games, I'm hoping that is going to be spoken of for decades. This is a great matchup that I've been looking for and anticipating. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I don't care if you're an Alabama fan, Washington fan, Texas fan, or Michigan fan. All 4 of those teams were glad they weren't playing Georgia.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love my maize and blue, but I'm unbiased when I say this, that I think Georgia is still the best college football team.
Hey.
And so that one loss derailed them, needless to say, but I don't think any one of those 4 teams that made the playoffs wanted to play Georgia.
Unlike basketball,
it's
the best team on that day.
Yep.
And so you can have an off day and you cannot execute the way that you normally would. And that one day takes you out. You know, basketball, you get to play a few games, you get your ranking, best 4 out of 7 in the tournament.
Yeah.
But in football, hey, you got to bring your A game every day.
I agree.
All right. So the next thing, this is where I was talking about my brother Terry.
Yeah.
Terry Reed, I want to give a shout out to you and your wife, Val. You guys were awarded tonight, and I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be real nice. You were awarded tonight an award from the NAACP for your community service. And I think that you guys have done an amazing job in terms of how you guys have been able to really do a grassroots effort of impacting a community that has specific needs.
Absolutely.
And so I want to give you a shout out, Terry, and my sister Val. I was not able to be there. If you all knew what it took for me to get here, I'm going home resting, pumping myself up, getting up, performing like you're pulling a string out the back of a rabbit. You guys have been an amazing blessing to the community through coat drives and giveaways and what you guys are doing with Community Auto. I told you, I've sat there and had conversations and watched things happen. And I just want to celebrate you all for all of the great work that you guys have and continue to do. I want to thank the NAACP, a wonderful historic organization, for getting it right and for recognizing you all. I think the youth were the ones who decided to do so. So great job. Regina G. Williams says she agrees that Georgia is the best team. Well, Regina, just as Jimmy, I'll say, well, congratulations and better luck next year. But I just wanted to say that, Terry, I greatly appreciate you. Once again, if you guys are interested in making comments, you can call in at 989-921-7107. My producer is going to put that number in the stream. And as you know, we do every single year. I mean, every single time we come together, I always share with you a Black history fact because I live my life 365 days Black. And so today, our Black history moment is going to come from William Purvis, and the date is January 7th, 1890. William Purvis realized how much of an inconvenience it was to have to carry around a bottle of ink whenever he needed to sign a contract or fill out legal papers. He therefore decided to do something special about it. On January 7, 1890, Purvis received a patent for the fountain pen. The pen eliminated the need for an ink bottle by storing ink within the reservoir, within the pen, which is then fed to the pen's tip. Of his accomplishment, Purvis said, "The object of my intention is to provide a simple, durable, and inexpensive construction of a fountain pen adapted to the general use and which may be carried in the pocket." So this day, January 7th, 1890, William Purvis, a Black man, received the patent for the fountain pen. So I certainly hope you guys.
Cool.
Would you
That's
say?
all I ever write with, fountain pens.
Really?
That's my quirk. Everybody
Really?
knows it. Yep, I only write with fountain pen.
Well, every time I get a fountain pen, I'm always trying to figure out how they work.
I've got 15 fountain pens.
So what is it about fountain pens that you like? Is it just the
probably the same reason I wear a hat with a baseball hat with a suit.
Okay, so me and Jimmy gonna have a conversation because it is so funny. Because I was like, this dude, I'm a young cat. Somebody says, "Oh, you wear a hat just like Jimmy." I'm like, that's what we do. But Jimmy, I noticed that everywhere you go, if it's a suit, you got your hat on.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to spend some time, and I hope you guys are a part of the conversation that we're going to have. If you would like to share your comments, your thoughts, concerns, by all means, come in. We're going to talk about the Memorial Cup. And so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the intro, but I do want to spend some time just talking with Jimmy and just kind of getting a feel. Jimmy and I have a long-standing relationship.
Yep.
And I'm saying this, Jimmy, because I know how communities operate. And so when I asked him to come, when he actually called and we were text me and we began to have conversation. I was like, dude, he's like, how come I haven't been on your show? I'm like, I've been waiting for you to hit me.
Yeah.
But I want to say this, and I'm going to give my piece first, Jimmy.
Okay, please.
Then we're going to talk.
Yep.
And then we're going to get into this Memorial Cup stuff. And I say this all the time, Jimmy. I'm a person, where I am. People never have to guess where I am. Because if I feel a particular way, I'm going to tell you exactly.
Likewise.
Jimmy, how many private conversations? I'm like, Jimmy, come pull it in. So that is one of the things that I appreciate about you is that you speak your mind and you say your piece. In like fashion, I'm the same way. And over the years, there have been people who have, I'm exposing a whole bunch of truth.
Oh,
and so this is straight talk, no chaser, no filter.
I love it.
So I
listen.
I do. There have been places and spaces where people have pulled me into corners and have asked me, hey, so what are your thoughts about Jimmy? Hey, so how do you and Jimmy, how do you guys differ in terms of what you do? So what do you think about Jimmy? And my response has been, if you think I'm going to sit here and have a negative conversation with you about Jimmy, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I think it's flattering.
I really, but this is what happens, Jimmy.
No, not so much that, but just I think it's flattering that people think enough about you, and that doesn't necessarily mean good or bad, but they think enough about you to ask other people who are influencers like you
Absolutely.
are what their thoughts are about me. And I always suggest then what particular issue are you talking about? Because typically most people will they will view me based on a single issue. but I'm a lot broader than a single issue. And when people get to really know me, and you and I have had this conversation before, and I think in our community, the Black community in particular, because my politics have always been on the right side of the aisle, people see me and they see Clarence Thomas. They see me, they
Uncle Tom.
see, yeah.
Oh, you're a sellout.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. But people who know me know just the opposite of that. I despise the Clarence Thomases of Black Republicanism, because I do think in many respects they're tokenisms, and they seem to follow a different kind of path where they're more yay men than anything. But my politics have always been, on the fiscal side, have always been conservative. And that's typically because of the way I was brought up. I became on the fiscal side what I didn't want to live through. But on the social side, anybody who knows me knows I'm a raging liberal. If you ask me about, there's been nobody who's been stronger on LGBTQ plus rights. Nobody. Sitting on Great Lakes Bay Pride, voting rights, civil rights, anything that has anything to do with rights, I'm a liberal on. Like, think about welfare, for example.
I want to jump in one quick second,
ahead.
because this is what I want our listeners to understand. So what I realized about you and I is that, and this has been wow. I was working with a group down in Detroit called Detroiters United.
Mm-hmm.
And this has to have been about 12, 15 years ago. And there was a young woman named Portia that wanted to get a job at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh, I don't, and in this administration, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I was like, oh, let me call somebody, because I think they might have some pull. Because at that time, you were walking in and making stuff happen. So I said, Jimmy, this is what's going on. I sent the email with her resume. You hit me back like, hey, I got it. She sends me back, oh my goodness, I got the interview.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to say was that, and this is what I think our community has to understand. I don't necessarily agree with everything that you do or how you do it.
I don't always agree with everything I do, which means I typically change my mind on some of the things.
And that's valid. That's valid. But this is the thing.
To admit it.
But we don't have to. We don't have to agree in order to be able to get along and do great things.
Oh, I agree completely.
And so one of the things that I don't have a problem with Jimmy Green. America, I do not have a problem with Jimmy Green. Me and Jimmy see some things differently. If you heard what he said, then you'll understand that my perspectives on how I feel when it comes to gun ownership, I'm a pro ownership person.
Yeah.
I do think that there need to be regulations.
So do
when
I.
it comes to, what'd you say?
So do I.
Absolutely. So I have a lot of.
I supported red flag laws.
I tell people I'm a conservative all day. Am I a Republican? Absolutely not. I'm not even a Democrat. So
what's funny about it, because I haven't been Republican since 2016, and it's interesting because it's like you can change your sex, but you can't change your politics in this country. Because when Trump came on, that was it for me. I was done with the party. So my politics have always been shaped around publicly by ABC's position. So ABC's position have always been on the right side of the aisle.
Absolutely.
I am great at my job. I will offer no apologies for that. And so I knew wearing that ABC hat, it was my job to promote those ideals. But those ideals are always fiscal. They are conservative values based on pro-merit shop philosophies. It had nothing to do with abortion or gay rights or anything of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a people, whether they're white, black, brown, yellow, whatever that is, we have to give people the allowance to be broader than we allow, which means that we don't want anybody stigmatizing us or stereotyping us or putting us in a pigeonhole, but we're quick to do it to other people based on a single issue. And so we have to be broader than that. So when I actually ran Gary Johnson's state campaign for president as a libertarian, and my views are more libertarian than they are anything. But again, ask me a question and then you could. And I think the problem people have with me is that it's difficult to put me in a box that they've already put me in. And so based on any number of answers I give, it's almost like I disrupt their box. And that's more their issue than mine.
Absolutely. And so as we look and we had this conversation, I think that this was very important to have this conversation, because I wanted to make sure that you understood that as we're having this conversation, I am a person who believes in asking tough questions, speaking what I say, which is
Absolutely.
we going that's where we are. And my issue has never been with Jimmy. My issue has never been with the Memorial Cup. I'm absolutely someone who comes from the world of sports.
Sure. Yep,
Okay.
I know you do.
And you really don't get to see the undertaking of it unless you're on the side of the team that's hosting the event.
Absolutely.
I remember a number of years ago when Phoenix, Jay Rich was out in Phoenix, Phoenix was hosting the All-Star event, and how everyone that was connected to the team, everyone that was connected, we were all called into action. There were so many pieces and intricate things that were happening.
Major.
I mean, most people can't understand the undertaking.
They just show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They show up and they enjoy it, and then they say, hey, this was good, this wasn't good. So having something of that magnitude, and I want to talk about the Memorial Cup and what it really represents. Most folks in our community, I'm gonna tell y'all, I've been to a number of hockey games. And every time I go reminds me of why I have to take some time in between hockey games. One of the young men said, man, they got all of these LED screens and all these LED lights. He said, I need some heat. A brother was, I didn't notice it first period, second period. After a while, I'm like, it's a little chilly when they brought the Zamboni. Is that what
the ice?
Man, oh my God.
The ice matters, man.
It changed. it will change your life.
The ice matters. Yep.
But share with us, Jimmy, as we get into this discussion and what the Memorial Cup means for this community.
It's really funny you should say that. I had lunch yesterday with one of my dear friends who used to work here, Rob Father. That's another thing too. Like him and I are we have the best.
I love Rob.
Yeah, we have the best conversations. We talk about a lot of different things, and so we talked about the Memorial Cup. And you know what he said to me yesterday, and it hit me. I never thought of it this way, because we were talking about the impact on Black Saginaw, right?
Absolutely.
And so he said, I don't know why people don't get this ideal. You are a Black man leading the message on one of the whitest sports there is.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm the face of the Saginaw Spirit. I'm the face of the Memorial Cup. Me.
Absolutely.
A Black man. I never, ever forget that responsibility. But I also think about, wow, the power in that you've, on their side of the aisle, they've decolorized the Memorial Cup, because for me, I'm a brander. I know how to make things move. So when they talk about the regional impact, the state impact, the lobbying effort that it takes for the Memorial Cup, and it takes a lot. I mean, it is daunting. And so when I do that, I'd never put myself in that color spot, but I'm always reminded of it, needless to say.
Jimmy.
So when the Memorial Cup came,
when
the Memorial Cup came, my first thought was, what would it impact? And so I've had so many conversations, and you always talk about, see, a lot of people don't know me. I'm a project boy, born and raised in Flint, Howard Estates. I love being that. And if you talk to people in our community, leaders like Jeffrey Bulls or Kevin Gregory, they will tell you, like, I'll cuss somebody out in a heartbeat, because I'm still a Flint boy. I'm
still praying for Jimmy.
I know,
on many levels.
And they do. And I've learned that my message, when it comes to being so outside the norm, as Black folks, we have like this norm, and anybody who's outside that norm makes people uncomfortable, makes us uncomfortable. We don't use that as a strength. Back to Portia's situation,
right?
Because if I'm in a room and you're in the other room, that means people can get in both rooms, right?
Right.
Because we never stop. You said 365 Black. I'm 365 Black as well. So the Memorial Cup, when it came in, I kept thinking to myself, okay, the city has no valued resources in order to win the cup. It doesn't, because it has to be a walking experience. And this thing has been around since 1919. There are 60 teams that compete for this. In Canada, this is their Stanley Cup. It's their NCAA. It's their college football championship. It's the most coveted championship they have. They've never held it east of the Mississippi, ever. Like since 1919, it has never been. It's only been held 3 times.
Was it in California last year?
Nope, it was in Washington. So not last year either. That was 29 years ago. They held it in Portland, Spokane, and in Seattle. Those are the only 3 U.S. States.
Where was it at
or
last
cities.
year?
It was in Canada.
Canada. Okay.
Yeah, it was in Canada. Kamloops is what they call it. Kamloops, Canada. So 3 times since 1919. This is the 4th time.
Okay.
And the first time east of the Mississippi. So you can imagine how daunting that is. Because I always feel like the Canadians want it back over there. They don't want to come over here.
So what this means, and
Mhm.
I want our community to understand this. What this means is, when they don't pick you. You are doing the biggest audition, song and dance
Man.
of your life.
Yep.
You're making projections and plans. You're
Mhm.
making promises of what you're going to present.
Yep.
If you guys have noticed, there's been a number of changes that are happening, not only downtown but to the arena.
Oh yeah, big time.
Huge changes because there is a standard that comes with the Memorial Cup.
Yep, you have to have suites, for example.
Absolutely.
Which we did not have. You have to have LED, which we did not have. I mean, we were antiquated, needless to say. So there was a lot of commitments made by the mayor, made by county commissioners. The Memorial Cup is not a white thing or a white Saginaw. It is, when you look at Snap Matthews, you look at our county commissioners who are of color, ask them what it took to win the Memorial Cup. They all had to come together. We had to create this hub in Frankenmuth because it's walkable. You know, that's where these 4 teams can literally walk. It's a 10-day event, not a 1-day or a weekend thing like our championships
Absolutely.
are. It's 10 days. We have to entertain people. So when I kept thinking, and imagine me being picked to lead this kind of thing, so you talk about pressure, because I'm out there, everybody sees me, I'm doing the Sammy thing and the whole works. I kept thinking the last thing I want to do is have my people ask, yeah, but what's in it for me? So I immediately started. I met with Jeffrey Bulls. I met with Kevin Gregory. I met with Bob Johnson. I said, guys, I need you guys to be ambassadors for me. I need you to get out there and make sure. I worked with the city of Saginaw. I said, we need to put the forums together. Cassie Zimmerman's been amazing. Tim Morales, you need to put together a forum so we can bring our people in here. They can understand how to work, how to vendor, how to participate, how to volunteer, and how to be beneficiaries of the Memorial Cup. We did 2 of those. We're going to do more, but we did 2 of those as a kickoff. We've set up, I have now set up a foundation that Dick Garber and Craig Goslin are supporting, called the Urban Hockey Association. When we see it, we believe it. We don't see hockey as a people. We don't see it. So you have to change that dynamics. I was watching our young boys yesterday, and I was kind of sitting to the side watching them watch the game. And I kept thinking to myself, how cool it would be to see them actually on the ice. So we set this foundation up that after Memorial Cup is done, we will teach them ice skating. We'll provide the skates. And I don't care if they want to play hockey. It's a great recreational thing. I mean, just imagine, I would have loved to have been able to ice skate. And people keep saying, do you ice skate now? I'm like, no, man, I'm too old. I know ligaments and tendons and knees and joints, and I ain't ruining any of them getting on some ice. But for our young people, which is exactly what the Memorial Cup opportunity for me was, look, we're kind of stuck in our way. But we can change the dynamics of Saginaw with our young Black kids in particular by changing the face of what hockey looks like in Saginaw, by providing these resources, by providing access and opportunity. We change the Stars routes. I literally got money to change the Stars route. Not only change the routes, but anybody on the east side, west side who want to come to the arena where all the Jolt Park, all those events are free. They get to ride the buses free. There's no fare over that 10-day period of time. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little manipulative, because when this thing is done, I'm going to be posing that question in September. Why aren't we still doing it? Why are we doing it? Why can't we be great for 10 days, but we can't be great every day? And it's that adage I told you about. It's like cleaning up your room. Company's coming, and everybody scurries around and cleans up the room. And then you can't help but wonder, how come you can't keep your room clean all the time? And that, to me, is what City of Saginaw represents in all of our people. So there's so many things that are happening right now. I plan a forum. I just talked to Hurley Coleman today about getting the Black pastors, and I know you're part of this coalition as well too, because you were there last night. You saw the experience. So getting the Black pastors out so they can be a part of this, so they feel like they own it. And then asking them to be ambassadors back to their congregation. I talked to Terry Reed again on text today. If you want to bring those kids out again, or you want to bring the help program out, you know my text number. I got access. I got opportunity. And you ask anybody, despite the fact that they may think something about me, ask them if I've ever said no to them. Ask them. If anything I had power to open the door to, ask anybody if I ever said no. That'll create silence right there, because I've never said no. When I created the Henry Marsh Institute, when I created Civalti, all those programs, it was about access and opportunity. So people can disagree with my policies, politics, whatever they want to, but my authenticity as it relates to providing something for my people when I have that opportunity, I can stand on my own record.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've heard a lot. We've heard some of the things. I know there's a lot to be unveiled. We're going to talk about some of those things. I'm going to ask some tough questions when we come back. Let's take a quick break. Stick, stay, don't go away. We'll be back with more of Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Achoo! Is your old ride making you sick? Ryan Wasik here from Bell Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. And this month, I'm your doctor of savings because I've got the cure for the common car. That means you could drive a nicer, newer car for just $1 down. So if your old ride's giving you a fever, I got the prescription you need. Right now, you can drive a car you love without coughing up a lot of dough. Trust me, these low down payments are nothing to sneeze at. You could drive for just $1 down. Sweating some past credit mishaps? My For the People credit approval process is like a spoonful of sugar. It helps the deals go down. So ditch that old clunker that's making you sick and cruise home happy and healthy in a nicer, newer ride. Because I've got your cure for the common car. And you could drive for just $1 down. But hurry, this deal's done once I help 23 people find the cure for the nicer, newer car. I'm Ryan Wasik and I'm your dealer for the people. See all the cars at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit $1 down, required bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Offer absolutely ends January 31st, 2024.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, don't kiss off on the party. Let's just supposed to roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. My crepe is always stocked. It's our party vibe. It's crushing up things so our chicks feel fly. So every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey, y'all. Here's what happened on the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
So I'm ugly to them.
Been ugly this whole time. Damn, man, what is news to you? Stop all this surprise and shock. You was ugly in high school. You was ugly on the track team. You was ugly in Pomeroy, stole money.
Oh, come on, man.
What about Mama's Boy? You were ugly in Mama's Boy.
Baggage claim.
Ugly.
Gotta be a cute
TNT. Ugly.
Think like a
man. So ugly, one line, get out. KISS 107.1, simply the best R&B.
This is the KISS community page where you'll find out about everything going on in the Great Lakes Bay region areas of Saginaw, Bay City, and Midland. Experience Jacob Lawrence, the legend of John Brown, January 10th through April 20th. Takes place at the Saginaw Art Museum, 1126 North Washington Avenue in Saginaw. Visit SaginawMuseum.org or call 989-754-2591 for more information. The Iota Chi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, in partnership with Delta College Black faculty, is hosting the 20th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Celebration. It happens Monday, January 15th at the Dow Event Center, starting at 11 a.m. This year's theme is Living the Dream. It starts with me. Adults $50, $20 for kids 12 and under. Sponsorship available. Sponsorship opportunities are still available. The State of Saginaw's Black Community, moderated by Bishop Hurley J. Coleman Jr. Monday, January 15th at 6 p.m. Takes place at the Saginaw CAC, 2824 Perkins Street. Topics covered will include civic engagement, education, economic development, housing, and health equity. Community organizers, please send your events to the KISS community page at least 2 weeks in advance. For more details and to find out about all the great events, log on to KISSWTLZ.com.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
This is Kareem, and you're tuned in to Straight Talk. I'm sitting here today in studio with Jimmy Green. He's sitting across from me, and we've been talking about the Memorial Cup. I want to give a shout out to those of you who are listening to us in the social media stream, those who are listening the old-fashioned way on your radio dial on 107.1 FM. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're enjoying what you're listening, or if you heard only a part of this conversation, please go to kisswtlz.com. On the face of the page, you'll see my beautiful face there. You click on there, you'll be able to hear this show and other shows in their entirety. And before I beat up Mr. Green in the studio, no, I'm just joking, Jim.
That's right. Put on.
We are going to continue our conversation. Before we were leaving, you were having the conversation about bringing this to Saginaw and the undertaking and being placed in this position as the overseer. It is an amazing, good to see you, Dr. Coleman. It is an amazing undertaking to be able to do that. First of all, when I look at Saginaw hosting something like this, this is really an amazing opportunity. So I really thank all of the people that are part of what's taking place. When I first heard this, and that's why I asked, because I thought it was in California. When I first heard that we were that Saginaw had received the nomination, the bid for this, I remember calling Mr. Garber and saying, "Hey, congratulations!" And he was like, "I'm at the Memorial Cup now." And I was like, "Wow, this is absolutely amazing." In April of last year, I sent in, "Hey, how can we?" Because he has always been. Let me say it this way: he is the greatest philanthropist, the biggest giver of any entity in the Michigan Bay region for the programs that take place.
Hands down.
I want to say that.
Hands down.
People may not understand that, but when you look at what he supports and what continues to exist because of his philanthropy, all of Saginaw should be all hands on deck. Now, I can only speak for myself. So in April of last year, and I got some kickback for this, Jim, because I said, listen, Dick Garber has supported everything that I have been doing by way of the community since about 2000. So we're talking about 23 years. And in that time, he's never said no. You know this. We were sitting one time and he was like, Jimmy is one of my greatest friends. And he talked about how he confides in you. And I recognize that. So I want our community to understand that when we look at something like this coming to the city of Saginaw, we often think, what's in it for me?
And that's okay.
And I think that should be a question. And we're going to get to that question. But I also think that we have to look at who it is that's bringing it and what has been their role in supporting our community. So me as a person, and this is just me, people were like, "You're volunteering." I said, "Listen, I'm willing to volunteer." This was April. So what's interesting is, and a lot of what I would consider were some of my issues, you've actually answered some of those things. You may have put some people under the bus on these things because I've had conversations with Bishop Coleman and other individuals about this. And, and I knew that you had strong relationships. You've been around working with those young men, with Bob Johnson and Jeffrey Bulls,
Kevin,
Kevin.
I got
you.
That was my family. That's my Saginaw family.
Junior achievement, all of these different things. And in my conversations with him, I think I spoke to all of them except for Kevin, because I hadn't seen Kevin in a long time. Crickets. And so I'm just sitting here like, where is the involvement with the community? And I'll tell you, my issue isn't with Dick Garber. My issue isn't with Jimmy Green. My issue was with process. And if this is going to take place, this is coming to the Saginaw community. It's a blessing, a great blessing to host this. My issue with process of engaging the communities of color. Now, from my perspective, everything that you said was absolutely amazing. However, it feels to me, as often things happen in our community, that all of the pieces are put into place. All of the mechanics are structured, and I'll give you a chance to organize. All of the mechanics are structured and organized. And I'll be very honest. This is Today is January 7th. This is the urban radio station for the city of Saginaw.
Right.
And this is the #1 show on this urban station in the city of Saginaw. I also do a radio program on WSGW, which is the station that the Spirits are on a regular basis. So I want to make sure that we're very clear about that.
Yeah.
So a lot of conversations have been taking place that folks in this station, the urban station, had no clue about, but I was privy to those conversations because I also do a show on WSGW. And so I was waiting for this opportunity because I volunteered my time. I was waiting because I was waiting for our community to get involved. I was waiting to see folks, and no offense, you are from Flint. You understand it.
I was born in Flint, but I was raised in Saginaw.
But
I got here when I was 21 years old.
But you get that piece.
I do.
But I also think that when something comes into the community, there has to be an entrance or a welcoming of that community base, and I had not seen that.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Absolutely, I'm
gonna I'm glad you brought it up because I make that a twofold thing.
Okay,
there's what you know, and then there's what other people know.
Absolutely,
I think each of us have a responsibility when what we know to be ambassadors out to a community. So when I suggest that we have county commissioners who represent a Black constituency, who knew about the Memorial Cup.
Absolutely.
When we have city council members and a mayor who knew about the Memorial Cup, who represent Black constituents, then the question for me is, then why am I the only one responsible for communicating to Black constituents? Where's the responsibility?
Well,
let me finish. Let me just finish. I said,
okay.
So when you know what you know, it is your responsibility, the radio station, churches, when they know, to understand that. But remember, when we first started this thing, the first thing we had to do was raise money.
Absolutely.
We had to raise money. So we went on an educational tour, and we wound up with Dow being the presenter of the Memorial Cup. One of the very first things, I sat in a room, and I'm not afraid to mention names. I sat in a room with
you don't have to, but
no, I will. I sat in a room with Dow executives.
Yep.
One of the very first things, one of the very pillars of their agreement to present the Memorial Cup was through their DEI network.
Absolutely.
That was abundantly clear. They knew my responsibility for DEI and my commitment to DEI. So this was a marriage already made, but it couldn't derail the education tour. We had to get corporate sponsors big time, and we had to get them quick. Remember, this window was closing on us. And so we had to do this. It's also important to understand this. The CHL owns the Memorial Cup.
Absolutely.
We are nothing more than a host.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of autonomy like we do with the Saginaw Spirit.
Absolutely.
Saginaw Spirit, we can just do whatever we want to. We don't with the CHL. We need permission. So there are all these moving pieces. So we decided, lock, stock, and barrel, to go on an educational tour first. Lock down our corporate people, get our money, start soliciting the kind of funds that would actually help to bring underserved communities into the Memorial Cup, because that was critical.
Really quick, you said you were going to name names, but you didn't. I wasn't sure, but I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Alvita Williams, Tiffany Terrain, and Heather Geigels.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I want to say this about that program and what they do. And there is an attack on DEI across the country.
Now, but Dow doubled down.
But Dow has doubled down. And I'm not saying this, Dow sponsors a program that I do, but in addition to when I began to engage them, they have done so much more in our community. So I want to give a shout out. Knowing that they are such a
that's why I brought that up. But everything we've done, to your point about processes, everything we've done is penciled. We made a decision that in January we would start turning pencil to ink. So we start putting pieces together. I will tell you that there is absolutely no way that our community, when I talk about our community, I'm talking about the Black community, cannot and will not be engaged in the Memorial Cup, not just from a volunteer standpoint, but also from a vendor standpoint. That process we're starting now. That was one of the reasons why we had that conversation at the Bishop's Breakfast about how to get people engaged.
Yeah. Now, that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dr. Thorns out there. She also is a great advocate in DEI.
Yep. And she will tell you that her and I have had a conversation. So we're actually meeting with Rico Phillips, who is head of CHL's diversity or OHL's diversity program. So myself, Dr. Thorns, and Rico Phillips will be sitting together talking about DEI and how it pertains to the Memorial Cup. And then more importantly, and anybody who's ever talked to me will tell you this. The Memorial Cup is one thing. I always talk about post-Memorial Cup.
What's next?
Always.
What's next?
So I will hold my responsibility, but I'm also not afraid to push back. Like if I'm bringing $25 to $30 million in this community and people are partaking in it, you said it's not unfair for people to say, what's in it for me? It's not unfair for me to say, okay, so what's your part? What's your role? What's your responsibility?
Mm-hmm. Well, no. And
it should be reciprocal. Would you not agree?
I definitely agree. And I want to say this about that. My natural inclination is that when people they do well by you, that you return that reciprocation. However, there are a lot of key individuals that are not doing things for free. There has been a lot of conversations and a lot of meetings that are taking place, and the tab is ching, 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 is raising. And it goes back to what I was saying. What is the overall benefit to the city of Saginaw, those residents who are going to be dealing with traffic, going through the roof? Because this is this is going to be absolutely great. And I've been talking with people about how amazing this can be for our community. What's going to be, how do you define the overall benefit? What is going to be the takeaway for citizens who live in the city of Saginaw? I know this is going to be great for the Great Lakes Bay region. And I know that this is going to be great for Frankenmuth. Unfortunately, Saginaw does not have housing or the entertainment that they have available.
Nobody will benefit more than the city of Saginaw.
Explain to me
Let
how.
me make that abundantly
that's
clear.
What I want to know.
We brought in the region to participate, but nobody will benefit more. First of all, and again, goes back to those meetings we've hosted. So we made a commit with the Small Business Administration here in Saginaw to start uprising our Black entrepreneurial people. We're doing literally a pitch all week long to have our Black entrepreneurs engaged and involved. I spoke with, when you talk about the restaurants, for example, we're trying to build a more economic center downtown. We're hoping that the Memorial Cup will be the stimuli to that. Now, again, it goes back to this piece that if we're bringing people down, that foot traffic, which is what everybody wants to do, we're also, again, changing the shuttles to go into Old Town. We could do the same thing on the east side of town as well, too. But there's a responsibility to tell me what you want me to do. Like if you tell me that you want me to send people there, tell me that, and then I will send people there. So the entrepreneurial piece of this is huge for downtown Saginaw. There's a medical diamond that's going to be coming in at some point too. We're looking at stimulating everything we do right now is condensed to downtown. We will send people out to Old Town, for example, but there's this misinformation that we're going to be busing people out to Bay City, and
but misinformation comes when people are not informed.
That again goes back to
So what you don't know, you'll begin to make up, and then there'll be conversations about those things. So one of the things I think that I am super duper excited to bring this type of tournament to our community.
Look at Hoyt Park.
Only 1 second. However, we cannot create the program and then push it down the throats of folks. We've got to inform them in the process.
I agree. No, I'm with you wholeheartedly. But again, Kareem, this goes back to the idea that you're going to set an expectation, and this is where I will not go there.
Okay.
I'm not going to set an expectation that on June 4th, guess what? The world's changed. It won't. It is not going to change. But will we start something? Will we kindle a fire that ultimately burns? Because now people will be coming into downtown. We're asking people to put their best Sunday dresses on, in a nutshell, because we have people, the Canadians are going to go home. Now, the opportunity for them to come back, great. But let's face it, we're bringing in people. When you talk about the regional impact, there'll be people from Bay City and Midland who come into Saginaw right now. You know what they do? They go home. They go home. After the game, they go home. We're creating a culture, an environment where now, because we're going to drop a puck in 3 short months after the cup's gone. In September, we play hockey again. We want to change the face of the Spirit. We want to make it look more like our community, and it does not now.
So let's talk about.
But let me just finish that real quick.
Absolutely.
But so we want to create this kind of climate, this environment where people now come into the city of Saginaw, and after the game, stay. Look, you talk about Rita. Rita and I sat down. We've got a game plan for 10 days, from dancing to dinner to you name it. Rita only opens on Sunday and special events. She's going to be open all 10 days with great events, great food.
This is my question.
And then people will come into that restaurant.
This is my question. Okay.
Sure.
I've heard you name individuals.
Yeah.
Rita is not Saginaw. She's not Black Saginaw.
She's downtown Saginaw.
No, she is.
And she's Black.
So no, I get that. But this is important, because we can strategically pick the individuals that are going to be a part and bring into this fold and work with. Okay. But if we're really going to be, as we talked earlier, we're going to bring diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Absolutely.
One of the most important pieces to that puzzle is information.
It is.
Because information is so important, and how to use it and what's available is so greatly important. And when people are given information, you bring them into a place of empowerment.
Did we not do that last night?
Well, no. This is the thing.
No, so I'm saying, right.
I'm going. Just let me finish this point. So one of the things, and I've taken kids ice skating. We got a plan to take kids on skiing, because these are exposure opportunities. You're bringing into a city that has been a basketball city,
right?
That has been the Saginaw High Arthur Hill final game.
Yeah,
sold out in minutes.
Sold out.
5,000 tickets gone.
Right.
And you're bringing them into a sport that has a major difference. There's a huge learning curve for the average individual that comes in that doesn't know anything about the sport. For folks who have never been on skates, for folks who watch it on TV and go to the next channel. Right. One of the things we talked about, just Black folks don't do cold well. And so changing.
Well, we're not going to warm up the arena.
Well, no, we'd have a swim competition, and we don't do that either. No, I'm just joking. But I think that one of the things that we really need, and this is, and Jim, like I told you, my issue isn't with you. My issue isn't with Dick. I'm loving the game coming in, but I think that sometimes we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, have we done everything that we could to make sure that the people that are being impacted, the people that are supposed to benefit, are as diverse as they can be.
I have no argument with that. I think the only place where you and I might have a great divide is when you start identifying the we. That's where I think you and I might very well differ on that point.
Go ahead. What do you mean when I say
who's the we? You keep saying, we need to. Who's we? I mean, is that an opportunity for us as Black folks to start reintroducing or introducing our kids to the sport?
No, absolutely.
Look, the Spirit has been down there 22 years.
Absolutely.
Dick Garber has operated that thing at a loss for 22 years.
Absolutely.
And every time we look around that arena, we don't see a lot of us. So now let me just say this. Now, with all this education and all the economic opportunities that are coming in, in September, now, should I look at a different demographic in the arena?
You know what? It depends.
Should I?
I'll tell you.
No, I'm saying if there's a give and take,
absolutely.
Can we now expect Black Saginaw to support the Saginaw spirit?
I want to say this.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, I want to give an answer to this, because what I think is very important. For instance, and I shared this story. Jay Rich, who's gone on and had a great NBA career.
Right.
Most people don't know that before basketball, he spent a lot of time out at Saginaw-based Ice Arena. We came from very different. He didn't come from the hood.
Right.
He came from the country, out in Carolina. Right. So we were exposed by friends to these opportunities.
Right.
And he wanted to be a hockey player. If you go back, and you might find stories about that taking place. And so I think that exposure gave him a desire to be a part of it.
Sure.
When I look at Black folks in gymnastics, it's not someplace that we've ever been.
But we are now.
But because of the exposure.
And tennis.
It's tennis. I mean, so there are examples that when we as people of color are giving exposure, and I want to say this to what your point is. Yes, parents have a responsibility to do these things as often as we can. But there are many parents, and I've been to our public school systems.
Sure.
And I was blown away to find that they have bars of soap, that they have shampoo, that they have foods that are available, that they have clothes that people have to change into, because some parents, for whatever reason, have abdicated that responsibility or cannot afford to do those things.
Agree. Yep, absolutely.
So to say to that parent, are you going to show up at a hockey game?
I didn't say it to that.
No,
parent.
no, I'm just saying in general.
Right.
This is
okay, right.
As we
I
talk
get
about the
that.
we.
I do.
Hey, come down to a hockey game. And there are just small things that disenfranchise groups. When the arena changed to card only, which a lot of arenas are doing, that poses a problem for Black communities, for folks who don't have checking accounts. So there is an opportunity to empower through education.
I agree.
I love putting Black people into an arena.
I agree.
And have them have that experience. Our kids, when you invited them, and I want to say you were an absolute host with the most. You were the best host on yesterday.
I appreciate that.
Our kids left in number 90.
Yeah. Luke McNamara.
They were like, that's our favorite. That's our favorite. Yeah. They had never been there. They were like, this is so cool. So exposure is so important.
I agree. And I'm bringing like our Kappa Leaguers down. I talked to Eddie Fox, who's an alpha, about bringing the alphas down. We're going to have fraternity and sorority days, those full days down at the Memorial Cup. I will promise you this, and I want you to hold me to it, and everybody does.
And I will, Jim.
I know, but I've never abdicated that responsibility.
Okay.
I will provide any and every opportunity for us, all of us, to participate in the Memorial Cup, whether that's entrepreneurial, whether that's volunteerism, whatever that role that people want to play. I'm there. I mean, and like I said before, ask anybody if I've said no, but there is again another responsibility to ask, to let me know your interest as well too. I can't be held responsible for understanding or even finding out who's interested. So I am at one of the most accessible, easy to reach people I know. I mean, I'm always on Facebook. People see me everywhere. Ask. I'm going to do my part.
No, I want to say
I'm going to do my
Jimmy.
part.
There has never been a situation, and I'm going to say this to your point, to your credit. I've never had a situation in which you told me that something was going to happen that did not happen.
No, and I'm not going to do that because I understand the spotlight and the responsibility. More importantly, I just would have said no. That would have been the easy part.
We had a situation, and I want to say this, and then we're going to talk about how people can get involved. But this conversation was necessary, because
God, yeah.
I love my city and I love my community and I love my people.
Yeah.
And you may find people that may be smarter, have more money, but what you will not find is someone who's going to work harder for their community than I am. So I appreciate that. And I want to say thank you for what you're doing. I want to share this because people don't see a lot of what happens and about Jimmy. They don't see this. I guess it must have been about 12 years ago. I was asked to do a construction math class.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
So they wanted to get kids excited about construction, about building.
Yeah.
And they gave me a construction math book to teach them construction math. I'm like, kids don't want, what in the heck is this? I said,
it's true,
Jim. And I went to the administration, was like, look, this is not working. If we're going to do it, we got to do it the right way.
I remember it well.
I called you.
Yeah.
I said, Jim, this is what we need. We're going to build dog houses so that they can see why construction math is important.
Yeah.
I gave you the call. You said, Kareem, give me some time. You called me back. Everything that we needed to get that done was delivered.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, first of all. In my book, you have been a man of your word. People may not like your personality, but in many ways,
I prefer they not like my politics. I can.
In many ways, Jim, we have a lot in common.
We do.
I
appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So share with those who are listening how they can get involved.
Okay.
And what those opportunities look like.
My email is jgreen, GREENE at SaginawSpirit.com, or you can call me 989-213-4367, or you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or any other social media outlet there is out there. I will respond. And I think there are a lot of your listeners who probably will tell you that I do exactly that. I respond.
Okay. So. There are, ooh. Someone said, and you can speak to this briefly. Okay. Someone said, if we took some opportunities to have clinics, teach youth how to skate, you kind of talked about this before. That was one of the things that I also suggested. Why don't you speak to that?
Yeah, I've already started that. I already have the foundation for an urban hockey association. We'll be doing that at the Saginaw Bay Ice
what
Arena.
That means.
It just basically means access and opportunity for young minority kids to skate. in a nutshell. You give them provide the equipment and the access to this arena, and we're going to be doing a lot of that free.
You had the youth from Help and from the Dow Treasure Academy out.
Right.
You hosted.
Mhm.
We went there. You put us in a suite.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you out there, but you took care of them. The kids were hungry. You fed
ask.
them, and I appreciate it. Sherry Long, there should be more opportunities for the community to introduce affordable opportunities for all underserved community members. I love what they're doing, and we would love to see individuals and development disabilities. Jimmy Green is an awesome human. Keep doing what you're
we are
doing
working with Special Olympics too. They have a role in the Memorial Cup.
Okay,
so.
Dr. Thorns, she says, thank you, Mr. Green, for invitation to SVSU Diversity.
And we are hosting them, by the way. Thank you, Dr. Thorns, because we are hosting them as well.
Sandra Crosby.
She called me. Ask and you shall receive.
Sandra Crosby, will there be another meeting for entrepreneurs to get involved for the memorial?
Yes, and we're working with the city of Saginaw. There'll be several of those.
Amos O'Neill, you're absolutely right. As a kid growing up, we used to skate at Hoyt Park. My thought is after, there's more to come.
Yeah, Amos has been a huge champion for the Memorial Cup. I'll tell you that. Massive champion. And I can't thank him enough for his role and his responsibility.
Mr. Buckley, Jerome Buckley, promote year-round through the Michigan Banner and Latino Banner.
Yep, we're doing that.
Okay.
Yep, we're doing that.
So,
I already reached out to Jerome. Jerome knows it. Bobby De Leon knows it. They all know it. I'm there. You can't cover everything, but I can tell you, I've left no stone unturned, and we're in that final stretch right now. And I think people will be pleased by the result. I really do.
All right. So, Jim, if you could give them that information one more time, I'd greatly appreciate it. How to contact you.
Yep. J Green, GREENE at SaginawSpirit.com or 989-213-4367.
I want to thank you, Jimmy, for coming in today, Mr. Green. We have always had a great time connecting and having conversations. What I love, because you're a good sparrer and you bring people alive. I love it. So I want to thank you for that. But the thing that I want to say, and I hope
by the way, World Outreach is leading the Faith Day, just so you know, because when we had a Faith Day set up, the first person I turned to, and yeah, it's a personal relationship, but I wanted to make that a Black experience, and World Outreach stepped up, and they're going to be the sponsor for Faith Day.
Okay, so Faith Day with Bishop Coleman. What I want to say, and I hope we all learn from this, is that we can have differences of opinions. Mm-hmm. We can see things differently, but we can change and we can fix anything that we sit down and have a conversation about. I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Those who you're listening in the listening stream, as always, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. Grace and peace.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 106.